Mercedes bringing in a secret weapon, so we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is Mercedes is bringing in their secret weapon engineers to copy Red Bull. The Hungarian Grand Prix came to an end with some interesting highlights. While Max Verstappen struggled during the qualifications and the practice, he turned around his results. The Red Bull team brought in new upgrades for the Hungarian Grand Prix that just did not seem to work out in their favor in the beginning, giving Lewis Hamilton a pole finish. Although Verstappen stole the show and was the driver of the day, this was the first race this season where he did not lead a single session. Right behind Max Verstappen was Lando Norris, who was 28 seconds away from Verstappen and won his second podium for the season, finishing second. While the duo celebrated their win, Lewis Hamilton finished in the 4th position behind Sergio Perez, losing the podium by just 1.19s. The Mercedes driver earned himself his 104th pole position at the Hungarian Grand Prix. This achievement left Lewis Hamilton to break his own record. But after Lewis Hamilton could not turn his pole position into a race win, he spoke about how the car needed to change. He previously mentioned how the Mercedes car still needed work to be done and was not up to par. However, after the race, he was sure of it and demanded his team find a solution to their car. Although their car was faster, it had not been fast enough to overtake Sergio Perez in the last minute to at least win a podium. After Red Bull's upgrades for the Hungarian Grand Prix finally came in to help Red Bull win their 12th consecutive win, Lewis asked Mercedes to bring some upgrades too. He pleaded with his team to just take the Red Bull direction for the upgrades. Red Bull was the fastest car on the grid, being almost half a minute away from Lando Norris. Lewis Hamilton told Sky Sports, "I am very repetitive. I keep repeating to the team that we need to go in that direction. I don't care if it's with this year's car or with the 2024 car." Lewis Hamilton stated his observations to his team about Red Bull's flat bottom and said it gave them more downforce. He asked his team to stop focusing on the rear wings more and just take the Red Bull direction. Hamilton made it clear that it did not matter whether this would be in the 2024 car or this year's car as long as the team just copy Red Bull. The 7-time world champion could have won a podium only if he had been just 2 seconds faster. But by the last lap, although he got close to Sergio Perez, he was not able to overtake him. This left the pole sitter with no podium as he lost his position to Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and Oscar Piastri in Turn 1. Lewis Hamilton has conceded he is like a broken record in his push for Mercedes to change aerodynamic development direction in F1. The Silver Arrows made strides with its major upgrade package at the Monaco Grand Prix, with the team since taking over second in the constructors' standings. Hamilton secured his first pole in 19 months at the Hungarian Grand Prix, pipping rival Max Verstappen by 0.003 seconds with a stunning lap. But the 7-time world champion was powerless to defend into Turn 1 as the current title holder surged clear, eventually finishing 33 seconds up the road from McLaren's Lando Norris as Hamilton fell to 4th. Hamilton has been vocal about the shortcomings of the W14 and its predecessor last season given Mercedes' struggles, as the Brackley-based outfit bids to recover lost ground on the dominant Red Bull RB19. The pace at the start of stints in the race was a far cry from the performance on display across one lap at the Hungaroring, and asked why the car seems faster on low fuel. Hamilton told Sky Sports F1, "The car isn't much quicker generally. This weekend it was quicker. We generally have a bigger wing than some of the others, like the Red Bulls, for example, but they seem to have more downforce from their floor. We have a lot of work to do. I'm like a broken record. I have just got to keep telling the guys that we need to go in that direction. I would love to see that either this year or at least on next year's car." The second story is Toto Wolff reveals the biggest flaw with Mercedes W14. The Toto Wolff-led Mercedes F1 team has been on a baffling run during the 2023 F1 season. At some tracks, they have got the weaponry to become a nuisance for the mighty Red Bull team, whereas at some of the other tracks, their car has proved to be downright average at best. Mercedes was a top team for several years during the turbo hybrid era, but since the dawn of the new regulations that kicked in ahead of 2022, the German outfit just hasn't been able to get to grips with it. Last year was a struggle for Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, and the ongoing campaign is proving to be a tough nut to crack. Toto Wolff is aware of what the biggest issue is on the W14 this year, And while shedding light on the same, he added, "The biggest weakness in the W14 car is not the lack of downforce. It's that the car is unpredictable. The drivers never have the confidence to really push it in qualifying. What we need to work on is just giving them a better car balance." Looking at the comments of the Mercedes boss, it is pretty clear that the outfit needs to pay a lot of attention to improving the balance of the car from track to track. He believes that it is one of the main reasons why Mercedes drivers cannot put the W14 through the rider on many occasions. The Mercedes team principal, Toto Wolff, has echoed the words of Lewis Hamilton in bluntly describing the bitter reality of their deficit to the Formula One championship leaders Max Verstappen and Red Bull. After being comprehensively beaten again by Verstappen at the Hungarian Grand Prix, Wolff observed that at very best Mercedes might only be considered quick in a field of cars that excluded the Red Bulls. Verstappen won at the Hungaroring by almost 34 seconds from McLaren's Lando Norris. Hamilton had started on pole but was passed by Verstappen, Norris and his McLaren teammate Oscar Piastri through the opening corners. The British driver came back strongly in the final stages but could still only manage fourth. He said afterwards he felt he had not been performing at his best for more than a year and insisted the result in Hungary reflected the reality that despite the pole, Mercedes were not fast enough. Wolff felt their car's ultimate pace was enough to have beaten the McLarens, but admitted Red Bull remained in a different league to Mercedes. "We can talk it up and say we could have been or would have been second," he said, "but that is irrelevant because you have a car in front that is 34 seconds clear and probably he was cruising for a long time. That's the bitter reality." The third story is Mercedes reveal what happened with the tire error in podium miss at Hungary Grand Prix. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff has conceded the team was too conservative when bringing its tires into a working window during the Hungarian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton finished only fourth, having started on pole position, losing a chunk of time to second-placed Lando Norris after the first pit stop. Seven-time champion Hamilton pitted earlier than the McLaren driver to attempt an undercut to begin the second stint, only to lose 6 seconds of race time by the time Norris pitted a lap later. The W14 was faster at the end of each stint, however, with Hamilton narrowly missing out on third when chasing down Red Bull's Sergio Perez in the closing stages. "We were too careful in bringing the tires in after the stops," said Wolff, speaking to media including Racing News 365. "We lost a lot of time. It paid off towards the end of the stint because we were miles quicker than everybody else. But it is always a balance. The balance was a little bit too much on bringing them in. To strike that balance right is really difficult because you can see if you hammer them like Lando did, Oscar, Piastri, Norris's McLaren teammate did, and also Checo did, then at the end, you just fall off massively. So bringing them in when you can is definitely advantageous, but probably we were too conservative. We lost too much time."